Hello guys, I am back from another video and today we're talking about what if Izuku or Deku was experimented on. So in the last video, Deku we talked about his origin where he was adopted by some strange people from Russia and was experimented on for a secret project known as the Aprishniki Project or Project Aprishniki, which gives, quirkless children artificial quirks or just makes them into freaking cyborgs. In this case, Izuku was fused with several different insect like DNA, like for example, queen bees and other dangerous insects that are poisonous, which allows Izuku to basically create poisoned webs. Basically, webs that are laced with special types of poison that he creates from his bodily fluids. In this case, Izuku is considered as one of their most dangerous because of his, insect gallery. I mean, he can literally create his own insects by, well, let's just say by eating, the alpha of the, or at least like the queen or the queen bees of specific insects and turning them into, much more powerful versions of themselves. He basically super evolves them to the max. So, after the Aprishniki project was, found out by several different other governments from around the world, they were, stopped. So, after that, because Ezekiel doesn't have a home and he was an orphan, he was told that he's gonna be, staying with Endeavor, where he was brought into the family, specifically the Todoroki family, and meeting his brother, or stepbrother, Natsuo, and then there's his two stepsisters, aka Fuyumi and, wait for a second, Shota, or Shoka, aka the female Todoroki, or Shoto Todoroki. So, after he came there, he was not really, happy about that. Mostly because his personality comes from all of the abuse that he had to deal with, especially with the experiments. So basically, he's an insane person that's always ready to kill and absolutely loves torturing people, especially with his poisons and bugs, because he loves bringing fear to everybody. So, one time, which was the last episode, being the first episode of this What If, we talked about how Izuku was, requested by Natsuo that he's gonna be going to a party, so Izuku was told that he should come. So Izuku came there as he doesn't really like the party, so he decided to leave the bar, or should I say club, as he sees a few people getting ready to, a girl. After, somewhat scaring them and also making one of them, shit his pants, they basically ran away, but thankfully the poison doesn't kill them, and they were apprehended. The girl was safe, and so Izuku came back with them, and also they basically came back home and gone to sleep. So, that's basically the summary of last episode, and so, let's talk about what happens next. So, Izuku wakes up as his insects are basically crawling all over him. He can still hear the pitter-patter of their little insecty limbs as he says this, morning. As his, hears something downstairs. He hears this. Alright, everybody wake up. We have breakfast. As he says this. Finally. As he starts walking downstairs and sees his brother and sister, being Natsuo and Shoka. Shoka seems to be, quite moody today, as he says this to himself. Shoka seems a bit angry. Probably Endeavor. As he goes down there and sees everybody eating. Mostly just like Endeavor and, wait for a second, and Fuyumi are basically eating. As they see this, alright, everybody pick up a plate and start eating. As everybody started eating, as one of them would say this, being Endeavor. So, Izuku, are you planning to go to UA? As he says this. Yeah, probably. I mean, I am quite smart. As he says this. Good. And also Shoka, don't forget, you are my successor, so, as she says this. Whatever, old man. As she starts leaving, as she would say this, being Fuyumi. Oh, you forgot your, as she says this. Don't worry, I'm gonna eat later. As Izuku would say this. Seems quite moody today. As for, well, Natsuo, he would say this. Yeah, she seems a bit angry today. Either way, we should start enjoying dinner. I'm at lunch. I'm at I'm at breakfast, god damn it. So, after finishing lunch, I'm at breakfast, god damn it. Why do I keep confusing them? Either way, after breakfast, they start doing their own things. Like for example, Izuku is currently trying to finish up his reading on some different types of insects, including a certain type of like virus. Or should I say fungi. Apparently, there's this fungi known as cordyceps, which basically are the insect equivalent of like a zombie virus. They basically revive the freaking dead body of a insect, specifically ants, causing them to basically go insane. And I don't really how to explain it, but search up cordyceps, and that is what you get. Cordyceps are basically fungi zombie infections. They basically are zombie infections. Thankfully, it doesn't work on humans, so it only works on insects. But if they were to, um, evolve a bit, they would basically kill us. They would just like turn us into freaking zombies, just like in The Last of Us. Just imagine that. Izuku is reading up on this as he thinks in his mind. Definitely not touching that thing. Either way, Izuku, after finishing reading, he goes downstairs and sees Endeavor. As Endeavor would say this. Izuku, I told Nezu that you're gonna be going to that school as a recommended student, right next to Shoka. As he says this. So I was recommended thanks to you? I mean, that's quite a great perk for you because you are the number 2 hero. As he says this. Why thank you, my son. As he says this. Hey, I told you stop calling me son. Just call me Izuku. And besides, we're not even blood related. As he says this. But either way, you are quite strong. I mean, you're able to control insects like you're their king. As he says this. I mean, you're right. Wait for a second. Yeah, you are right. But still, I have my own limitations. Just like you. I mean, you could probably just be defeated by some water. But still, as Endeavor would say this. Either way, are you still working on your modified insects, right? As he says this. Alright, I forgot about those. But my modified insects are a bit different from other insects, let's just say that. As he starts, well, making this weird white noise. And if you don't know what is white noise, it's basically a type of like sound that barely can be heard, but to different types of animals or specific types of animals, they can hear it clearly. And this white noise attracts a certain type of, insect that he created. In this case, a large centipede, specifically, colored blue, and it starts transforming into a spear, as he says this. Meet my lovely little insect. I call it the, actually, I don't know what to call it, but let's just call it the spear centipede. Has a nice ring to it. What do you think, Endeavor? As Endeavor would say this. Quite interesting. So what did you do to it as he says this? Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. this centipede that I modified is actually similar to a spear, and even transforms into a spear if I wanted to. But I would rather just use my, well, as he starts creating webs out of nowhere, as he starts walking on one string, which is he basically starts walking on it like a walker, if you don't know, which is basically from the circus. Just imagine him like that. He goes like this. Yeah, but I do prefer my webs, my poisonous webs. I can even become a great hero if I wanted to. Or maybe one of those secret heroes or underground heroes. Just like Mr. What's his face? I think his face was like, yeah, Mr. Eraser Face or something. As he says this. You mean Eraserhead, right? Says Endeavor as he says this. Oh yeah, Eraserhead. He's quite an interesting guy, but still, his name, though. He must have been drunk when he thought of that name. As he says this. I mean, you're not wrong, but still. As Izuka would say this. Anyway, I should be going back to my reading, so what day are we gonna be going to, UA? As he says this. After the regular exams, or the regular entrance exams, you're gonna be doing the recommended exams, which is just going to be you doing some, hard work. But you're not gonna be doing the academic part of that, as he says this. Oh well, okay, see ya. I'll just be training on, making brand new insects for my empire. As he says this. Do you seriously call it an empire, Izuku? As he says this. Yep, I just prefer to call it an empire because I am the king of the insects. As he kind of laughs like a, medieval king, as he says this. Either way, see you, Endeavor. As he goes back to his room. Wait for a second. So, Izuku, after going back to his room, he starts going back to his room to make more insects. In these cases, he created a special type of beetle that puts in a neurotoxin. Even though that's usually for fish and other types of animals, besides insects. But let's just say he's able to do that. And this, beetle is able to paralyze the person, but it doesn't kill them. But instead, it burrows into the skin and basically eats the person within. But he can control them to not do that, so yeah, he's basically making these murder bugs, or murder beetles. Then there's a spider that shoots out the same web that Izuku does, but it's mostly used for, for stealth missions. He can just create those, these spiders are able to create these webs, but they aren't poisonous, and instead of dripping out the poison and absorbed into the skin, yes, Izuku's webs can do that, but these webs can do, not that. They're mostly used for stealth, which Izuku uses to, go into bases and basically, walk on it like a tightrope person and basically just do it silently like a ninja, but except ninjas don't do that. Then there's his little, centipede. These centipedes can literally turn into knives, because in the back of them are basically little blades, and these blades can produce poison. More poison. So, this poison is basically the same as the poison in his webs, and yeah, you know what is going to happen next. Izuku can literally slice through them, and literally can poison them at the same time. So, after a while of creating these, brand new, abominations, Izuku decides to go outside and sees Shoka basically, mostly just training. As Izuku would say this. Oh, hey sister. As he climbs down with his insect-like limbs coming out of his back. Izuku literally has these insect-like back parts that are similar to a, spider or praying mantis. he can literally just like bring them out or bring them back into his back at any time. Izuku says this. So what are you doing, sister? As she says this. Uh, I'm currently training Izuku. Just leave me alone. As he says this. Are you still pretty sad that, I don't want to call her mom, but as she says this. Just call her mom. You are a part of the family now. As he says this. After mom, basically gone insane, and I didn't know this, but I actually heard it from Natsuo. As she says this. Yeah, that's how I got my scar. As he says this. But either way, maybe we could train together? As she says this. Why not? So, a while of training had gone by as Endeavor would see them training together as he would say this. Yes, sorry about that. Yes, go and train. Become stronger than you already been. Become stronger. Become faster. I want you to become the #1 hero, Shoka. And for you, Izuku, you can become the #2 hero, I don't care. Just saying that to himself. Wait for a second. After saying that to himself, after a while of training, he would stop. As Izuku would say this. I think that's enough. As Shoka would say this. Yeah, I think that's enough. We should go back to the house. As he says this. Yeah. So, after going back into the house, they would stay in Shoka's room, as Shoka would say this. So, how's your little experiments? As he would say this. Well, pretty going well. I even created a little beetle that literally burrows into the skin and, well, eats the person. But I can control them to not do that. Not only that, they can also paralyze the person. So, as Shoka would say this. You sound like a mad scientist when you do that. As he says this. I know. Anyway, so, what do you think of my... As he says this. And as she says this. What do you mean by... As he says this. Well, yeah, I didn't show you this. As he showed off his, well, centipede spear. Or, spear centipede. As it comes out of his back, or literally comes out of nowhere, as she would say this, oh my god, as he says this, don't worry, it won't bite, unless if I tell him to. I love jokes. As she says this, so, what is that? As he says this, transform. As wait for a second, the spear centipede would transform into a spear as this. This is my brand new creation. I call it the centipede, or the centispear, or actually I don't really know what to call it yet. But I'm just gonna call it the spear centipede for now, as she would say this. So, it's able to transform into a spear for you. As he would say this. Yep, I couldn't make it into a scythe because, well, it seems that wait for a second, the anatomical, structure of his body couldn't handle it, so I decided to turn it into a spear instead. As she would say this. Huh. As she would look into one of Izuku's arms. As she would say this. So, are you gonna get rid of that? As he would say this. Get rid of what? My insects? Heavens no. As she would say this. No, not that. I'm talking about your little tattoo. As he would say this. Oh, this? As Izuku looks over and sees his old tattoo. This tattoo says 1.0. As he would say this. Sorry, but I prefer to keep it. It's a reminder. As she would say this. A reminder that you were turned into that? As he would say this. Yep. I'm happy with my choice. And I'm okay being this so called monster. And I'm okay with people calling me that. Just to show them that even the terrifying, even the most dangerous, and the most deadliest can become heroes. Even though I was quirkless back in my old life, I am now something entirely different. As Shoko would say this. Okay. So, Izuku, what, um, are you planning on becoming a hero, right? As he says this. Obviously, yes. I mean, it's after all, Dad's fault for making me do this. I mean, he did adopt me. As he would say this. I meant she would say this. So if you want to become a hero, then why not become a more friendlier person? I mean, you're still insane, so as he says this. No can do. I prefer to be my true self. Anyway, I should be going. Nice talking, Shoka. As Shoka would say this. Yeah, nice talking. As he would go back to his room, as he fallen to sleep. So the next day comes, as they were basically training, as while they were training, Endeavor would say this. Alright, stop. As they would stop, as, well, Shoka would say this. What is it, old man? As he would say this. You're gonna be preparing for tomorrow, and tomorrow is gonna be a special day. This special day is for you, Shoka, and for you, Izuku, as well. You're gonna be going to UA very soon, and you're gonna be doing the recommended exams, where you're gonna be showing off your power to the other students, showing off that you're greater than them, that you're my children. As they would say that, yes, father. As he would say this, yes, Endeavor. As they would start going back to their rooms, as they basically start doing their other, well, stuff. Mostly doing, well, chores around the house, and also helping their siblings. Or in Izuku's case, well, his step siblings or adopted siblings. So, after a while of doing that, he would start doing something else. This something else is, well, let's just say, well, torturing some villains. He was recommended by some, well, specifically by the Hero Commission, that he would interrogate some people, specifically some high level villains. In this case, a villain that was working with a brand new organization. As he would say this to one of the Hero Commission members. So, should I just poison him, or get him several cuts, or make one of my little insects? I don't know. Well, eat him alive. As he would say this. Just anything. I want you to get information from him. After all, this League of Villains group, or whatever it's called, seems to be quite dangerous. As he says this, okie dokie. As he would go inside and sees the man, chained. As he says this, I won't tell you anything. I won't tell you any single thing, or whatever. I tried to protect you. I tried protecting this city, and you decided to throw it all away, saying that I'm a villain. I'm trying to save the city from this corrupted society. As he would say this, oh, shut the hell up. As his insects start biting him, and started screaming in pain. As he says this, what is this? As he says this, oh yeah, I'm a part of the Pristiki project, or at least one of its former members. You can call me Izuku Todoroki, or people prefer to call me by my other name back in the day. the Insect King. So, are you ready to talk, or are you just going to die? As he says this, I won't tell. As he says this, very well. Hey, Mr. What's her face? As he says this, just call me Damon. As he says this, he says this. So, Damien, what should I do? As he says, do whatever you can. Try and pry all of the information from his head. As he says this, as you wish. As he would get one of his little, well, centipede insects and shoving it into his ear. Yeah, just imagine, like, the insect just going into your ear and basically start crawling around, biting into his skull. As he starts screaming in pain, saying, "You're a monster." As he says this, a monster, eh? People always call me that. And I don't fucking care. People call me monsters just because I do whatever the hell I want. They call me a monster just because they're afraid of me. They call me a monster just because I work for the government. A joke. That's just a joke. Now, are you just gonna give me that information, or I will just have to, well, let my insects do all the talking for me? As he says this, fine, just get these insects out of me. I'm tired of this. It's painful. As he says this, very well. As he snaps his fingers, as his insects would start coming back to him. As he says this, okay, what do you want? As he says this to Damien, so, what type of information do you want, Damien? As he says this, the leader of this, well, organization. As he says this, very well. So, mind telling me who's this group's leader? I want every single piece of information that you have. So, he would say, all for one. As the guy would basically say this, all for one. I thought he was dead. As he says this, all for one. Huh, never heard of him. Is he scarier than El Diablo? Or, what's his face? Captain Terrible, or whatever his face is. The number one villains of, Mexico and, America specifically. I can't really remember all that much. As he says this, no, he's the number one villain in Japan. One of the most dangerous, because he's able to take quirks. As he says this, Izuku specifically, he's able to take quirks. As he starts laughing maniacally, as he says this, so he's able to take quirks, eh? Oh, he's gonna be an interesting challenge to beat. But it would be super rewarding seeing him suffer in pain. So, all for one. When we meet, I will make your life a living hellscape. So, after getting the information from him, he let his insects have dinner for the night. After he came back from that little, well, area or situation, he basically came back home and goes to sleep. So, I hope you like this episode, and I hope you like the video. Comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye bye.